According to statistics, you're most likely to start life in India. Every sixth person in the world is born there. But imagine that you are so lucky that, being an Indian, you end up among the exceptional 1% of the rich, who own 40% of the country's national wealth. But Sanjay Kapoor doesn't have to imagine this, because his father owned a huge company and even sent his son to study in London. Sanjay got married 3 times, including to one of the most popular Bollywood actresses, and by 2022, he had a fortune of $1.2 billion. He was also a close friend of British Prince William. But then, something incredible happened. Last year, at a polo match in England, a bee flew into Sanjay's mouth and stung him. The billionaire had an allergic reaction and died. But what if you weren't lucky enough to be born into a wealthy family? Then you might end up in New Delhi or Kolkata, cities that hold records for air pollution. Or in India's capital of death, Varanasi, where up to 400 bodies are cremated every day by the sacred Ganges River, and corpses are often thrown directly into the water. Without money for decent food, you'll have to eat at local street food stalls, if, of course, the way the food is prepared doesn't ruin your appetite. And not only observe, but also take part in creating a huge amount of garbage, since this isn't considered shameful. There's a joke on the internet that if you pick a random spot on the map of India and open the street view, you'll always find garbage there. That's no exaggeration. Try it yourself. But why is it so dirty in India? Why hasn't there been any opinion leaders who would condemn such behavior and break the system? Let's find out. Dirty records. To be impressed, just take a look at the Indian landmark aptly nicknamed the Garbage Everest. This is a landfill located in the suburbs of the Indian capital. In its 40 years of existence, it has grown to a size comparable to 10 football fields. When the mountain of waste reached 70 meters, the authorities realized that helicopters and airplanes could crash into it. But they didn't remove Everest. They just installed marker lights for, so to speak, safety. The landfill constantly emits toxic gases and contaminates the groundwater. Every few years, there are large-scale fires here. The trash ignites because of methane that accumulates inside the waste. Among these mountains of garbage, thousands of people work every day, including children. They sort through the waste by hand, separating what can be sold. The most valuable items are plastics and aluminum. They pay the most for them. At the end of the workday, they hand over their fines to middlemen, earning an average of about $10 per shift. New Delhi is the political capital of India. It's just one of 11 districts in the vast city of Delhi. 27 million people live here. That's 5 times more than the entire population of Finland. The air quality is so bad that pollution is 20 times above the acceptable limit. The dust in the air is so fine that it's 20 times thinner than a human hair. No filters can catch it. Microscopic dust settles in the lungs, day after day, undermining health and increasing the risk of cancer, stroke, and heart attacks. A study by scientists from the University of Chicago shows that for residents of Delhi, this invisible exposure results in a loss of at least 5 years of life. Breathing in the Indian capital, as well as in many smaller cities, is dangerous due to a whole range of factors. The city is suffocating from polluting construction practices, millions of gas stoves, as well as continuous emissions from cars and coal power plants, which create a dense toxic mixture over the metropolis. It's not only India's megacities suffering from toxic smog. Here's a telling example. Visakhapatnam, or simply Vizag, is a major port center and at the same time one of the most famous resorts in the country. Ancient temples, mountain landscapes, beaches, and nature reserves have earned it a reputation as a city for relaxation. Almost a third of the area here is covered in greenery all year round, which is why Vizag has earned the nickname City of Eternal Spring. It seems like the air should be clean here, but that's not the case. Despite its tourist image, Vizag is a powerful industrial hub. A major scandal happened in 2020. Residents began complaining of severe headaches, nausea, burning in their eyes, and shortness of breath. At first, the symptoms didn't cause much concern, but soon people started losing consciousness right on the street. Everyone was running and shouting. I also took my family and ran. Many people were lying on the road, but I couldn't think about saving anyone. I could only think about my family, recalls local resident Sri Shirineva Sarao. His daughter could not be saved. She lost consciousness and died in the hospital. A total of 12 people became victims of the poisoning. The cause of the tragedy turned out to be a leak of toxic gas at a plastic manufacturing plant owned by a major South Korean corporation. It was later revealed that the plant had been operating in violation of regulations for at least a year without the required environmental permit. The danger in Vizag is not just in the air. Wastewater and household garbage often end up right on the streets. Sanitation workers clean up the filth using shovels and metal hooks, manually loading it into special vehicles. The Ganges causes the greatest shock among tourists. The sacred river, crystal clear at its source, at the Gangotri Glacier in the Himalayas. In terms of water resources, the Ganges ranks third in the world, behind only the Amazon and the Congo. However, the further the river carries its waters, the more they are poisoned by household waste and industrial discharges. At the same time, for India, this river is sacred, and for more than 400 million people, it is also the main source of water. This is more than any other river on the planet. During seasonal floods, the river flows through densely populated areas and accumulates a lot of filth. Because of this, not only is it unsafe to drink from the river, you shouldn't even swim in it. There's a high risk of catching an infectious disease. The most talked about section of the river is near the Ghats, the stone ritual structures in the holy city of Varanasi. The water here contains about 600 viable fecal enterobacteria per milliliter, which is 120 times higher than the acceptable limit. Cremations also take place here. After cremation, the remains are thrown into the river. But those who come to Varanasi to die without money for cremation, as well as unmarried girls, pregnant women, and children, are not cremated. Their bodies are thrown directly into the river. As if that wasn't enough, river worship rituals are also performed here. Burning lanterns and flowers are placed on the water. This adds more material for decay. The government of India promised back in 1985 to build water treatment facilities by the early 2000s. But because of the population growth rate, the cleanup plan completely failed. The current facilities are too weak for such a volume of waste. Interestingly, there's still a silver lining. In the upper reaches and lowlands of the Ganges, there are several protected areas: Rajaji National Park and Sundarbans. Rare animal species live in these areas, and mangrove forests grow there. It seems that saving the Ganges is already impossible because of the main reason: littering habits. In fact, the Indian habit of littering was born a long time ago and is connected to what we call mentality. Mainly, it's due to the old caste system dividing people into layers. The lower castes, the untouchables, did the hardest work, including cleaning. And for the other castes, doing something like that was beneath their dignity. In the 1950s, castes were banned, but apparently not enough time has passed, and the old division between the worthy and the unworthy still lives on in the minds of Indians. It's very difficult to break out of the circle of caste predestination. Many people think caste isn't determined by chance, but by the laws of karma. Your standard of living depends on what you did in your past life. That's why people treat janitors this way. Apparently, he was a sinner in his past life, so he was born into a family of garbage collectors. He deserves it. If he works well, maybe next time he'll be born into a wealthy family. Another significant problem was the emergence of materials that decompose slowly in the 20th century. The main one is plastic. In the past, large leaves or clay products were used for packaging. Such materials decompose naturally and quite quickly. Cows also helped out. After all, they are sacred animals in India, and there are still huge numbers of them, including on roads and streets. Previously, Indians would just throw them something like a banana peel, and the animal would take care of what would otherwise become trash itself. But then plastic, glass, and metal appeared as packaging. But the old habits of throwing trash at your feet remained. The problem of garbage is connected to the problem of air pollution. Garbage dumps that form here and there are constantly being set on fire. and the products of burning dumps poison the air, which is already ruined by industry. The basic but very important garbage problem is simply the number of trash bins on city streets. For such a huge population density as in India, there simply aren't enough trash bins, and the poor, of whom there are many, also steal the metal bins to sell them for scrap. When you're holding an empty water bottle and you've been carrying it around for half an hour, thinking about where to throw it away, you can't help but think, everything around is already covered in trash. One more bottle won't make a difference. This damages the closed cycle of waste. Cleaning city sewers is not only exhausting, but also extremely dangerous work. Almost every day there are reports of scavengers and sanitation workers who die from suffocation or drowning in sewer tunnels, which are often cleaned by hand. According to estimates, more than 22,000 people involved in cleaning and waste collection die every year in India. Recycling. Despite all the horrors mentioned, there is a whole group of companies in India that have monetized waste recycling. Let's take a look at the most unusual examples. Here's an idea from a young Indian, Natush. His graduation project on making sneakers from used bags and bottles attracted private investors and quickly turned into a business. The company Tylee produces up to 15,000 pairs of shoes per week. About 170 people work at the factory, and sales are steadily growing. Natush cooperates with waste pickers, buying t-shirt bags and clear bottles from them. The plastic is washed without chemicals, dried, and pressed in layers to produce a strong material. They make fabric from the bottles that resembles canvas. The upper part of the sneakers is cut and sewn from the resulting materials, while the sole is molded from recycled plastic granules and additionally stitched for durability. According to Natusha, such shoes last for 2 to 3 years, after which they can be returned to the factory for recycling and donated to charity organizations. The eco-friendly approach also extends to the packaging. The bag is made from recycled bottles, and the box is made from paper with basil seeds, which can be planted in the ground. Another example, India is the second largest producer of sugar in the world, mostly from sugarcane, which leaves tons of waste after processing. The Paka industrialist family has been growing sugarcane and producing sugar from it for many years, but only a third of the raw material is used for the product, and the rest turns into waste. After processing, tons of bagasse, the fibrous remains of sugarcane, accumulate around the factory. A third is burned to generate energy, but the remaining 2/3 are just waste. The young business heir, Yash Paka, came up with a use for the waste. He launched the production of disposable tableware, plates, cups, bowls, and trays. The brand was named Chak, which means taste in Hindi. Before washing and pressure treatment, the workers remove the top layer of the finest fibers. For this, they use an alkaline solution, which makes the remaining cane softer and more pliable. After that, the raw material is thoroughly washed to remove traces of chemicals, and then the resulting pulp is poured into molding machines, where the water is squeezed out and the desired shape is formed. Many manufacturers bleach products like this, but at Chak, they have deliberately chosen to skip this step. Here, they believe that environmental friendliness is only possible with minimal use of chemicals. The finished products are packed in compostable starch-based containers, completely replacing plastic packaging. Chak tableware completely decomposes in just 3 months, whereas plastic can remain in the soil for hundreds of years. However, the eco-friendly solution also has a downside: the price. The eco-friendly plate costs about 8 rubles, while the plastic one costs 6. With bulk purchases, this difference becomes significant for restaurants and cafes. Despite this, Yash deliberately does not lower the price of his products. All company employees receive an official salary not lower than the minimum living wage, which is rare for India. According to the entrepreneur, profit is just a matter of time. One of the most unusual examples of waste recycling in India is connected with those very flowers that are sent floating down the Ganges River. The company Fool began turning temple offerings into incense sticks. Raw materials are collected at wholesale markets like Shevalaya, where flowers are sent to temples and then to rivers. Since the flowers are used in religious rituals, Throwing them in the trash is considered unacceptable. As a result, more than 1,000 tons of flower waste end up in the waters of the Ganges every day. At the same time, many of them contain hazardous substances, heavy metals and pesticides that poison the ecosystem. The founder of Fool, Ankit Agarwal, was the first to ask why temple waste had never been considered a source of pollution. Today, the company's employees visit the temples of Kanpur every day, collect the flowers, clean them of foreign materials, and send them for recycling. The petals are used to make incense sticks, while the stems and buds are turned into compost. The company's production lines can produce up to 400 sticks per hour. This closed-loop process is called the flower cycle. According to Ankit, their products are safer than traditional alternatives, since most incense sticks are made from charcoal, which releases toxic gases when burned. Another equally unexpected thing being recycled is cigarette butts. Despite the severe environmental situation, smoking remains widespread in India, and every year, cigarette butts from 4 to 4.5 trillion cigarettes are discarded. Their filters are not cotton, but plastic saturated with nicotine and chemical compounds. The company Eco-Codeford has established a system for collecting and sorting cigarette butts, and then recycling them. All stages have passed independent safety certification. The resulting raw materials are used to stuff soft toys, pillows, and to produce mosquito repellents, which are sold under the NMO-NMOSQ brand. The problem of air pollution in India prompted architect Tejas Sidnal to come up with an unconventional solution. He founded the Carbon Craft Design Project, which turns black carbon, one of the most harmful components of smog, into cement tiles. The production does not require firing, has a minimal carbon footprint, and is entirely based on manual labor. The tiles are made to order and cost less than $2 each. Unfortunately, installing these tiles is more complicated than usual. An exception to the rule. Among the polluted cities of India, a role model has recently emerged. This is the city of Indore, the commercial center of the state of Madhya Pradesh. In 2017, it became the cleanest city in India in the rankings and has maintained its leadership ever since. In 2022, Indore received the status of the country's first 7-star waste-free city, and in 2023, it topped the ranking of cities with the cleanest air among metropolises. Just 10 years ago, Indore was not much different from other Indian cities. Garbage on the streets, stray animals, and spontaneous dumps. The key to success was a comprehensive waste management system developed by the municipal corporation. A city with a population of about 3.5 million people produces at least 1,200 tons of garbage every day, and all of it is collected right at the source, in homes and businesses. Every day, about 850 garbage trucks go out onto the streets, working on a door-to-door basis. The trucks are equipped with GPS, divided into compartments for wet, dry, and hazardous waste, and even play a melody that lets residents know it's time to take out the trash. The movement of the vehicles is monitored in real time from the command center. The reform began in 2015 and included 3 priorities: removing garbage bins from the streets, eliminating dust, and achieving complete coverage of separate waste collection. Residents were actively taught how to sort waste, and fines were introduced for refusal. Over time, the habit formed, and now separate waste collection is standard. Social integration also played an important role. More than 1,000 waste collectors, who previously worked unofficially, were integrated into the city's sanitation system. They received uniforms, a stable salary, and became active participants in the cleanliness program. Special attention was given to markets, shops, and cafes. All retail outlets were required to have trash bins, and the absence of containers or failure to comply with the rules is punishable by fines. Local composting was introduced at food markets, and the amount of waste from each shop is weighed, with the fee depending on the amount of garbage. Wet waste is processed into compost and bio-CNG, which are used as fuel for city buses and supplied to hotels and universities. Dry waste is sorted and sold to recyclers. The revenue from plastic, metal, glass, paper, and even carbon credits goes into the municipal budget. According to official data, Indore spends about 2 billion rupees annually on waste management, but a significant part of the expenses is offset by recycling. There are no more landfills in the city. All waste is processed within 24 hours. This is just one city for now, but who knows? Maybe its example will inspire others in India. We'll end here. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and stay tuned for more episodes on our channel.